The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fab, a segment of the Forever Fab podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of Fab is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of Fab, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion. Of course, I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add, expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. This week's episode of 15 Minutes of Fab is dedicated to imperfection. The title of this episode is What's in a Word? Grace. And the topic really is about longing and how longing may be reconciled for a more beautiful life, right? To long, to desire, to wish for, it's human. But how do we manage that? I learned a new word today. Sehnsucht. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Sehnsucht. It's a new word for me, yet I've known about its meaning for many, many years. According to Wikipedia, Sehnsucht, quote, is a German noun translated as longing, desire, yearning, or craving. Some psychologists use the word to represent thoughts and feelings all about facets of life that are unfinished or imperfect, paired with a yearning for ideal alternative experiences, end quote. ScienceDirect.com defines sehnsucht as, quote, life longings, defined as intense desires for ideal states of life that are remote or unattainable, reflect individuals' search for happiness and meaning and their struggle to cope with losses and unrealizable wishes. What do people think will make them feel happy? End quote. Wikipedia also notes that psychologists have identified 6 core characteristics of sehnsucht. Quote, utopian conceptions of ideal development. 2, sense of incompleteness and imperfection of life. Number 3, conjoint time, focus on the past, present, and future. Number 4, ambivalent and bittersweet emotions. Number 5, reflection and evaluation of one's life. And lastly, symbolic richness, end quote. Okay, so what does all of this mean? What is the nature of longing? Is it an integral part of human nature? Of course, to long and to desire and to wish for things and to hope for things, that seems pretty normal and human to me. But what happens with the residue of those things when those wishes and those dreams and those desires go unfulfilled? ScienceDirect.com continues, quote, if we were to name our most important longings in life, what would they be? True love, fame, a happy family, a better functioning body, or the hometown that we have long left behind? Almost everybody is familiar with the experience of desiring intensely something that appears to make life better and more complete, but that is actually remote or unattainable, end quote. What do we do with that? How do we manage it? May we be happy with unrecognized or unfulfilled desires, or are we better off without sehnsucht? Should we just acknowledge and say, yeah, that's great, that's cute, fabulous, but maybe not. I'm okay with that. If you were to list your most important desires, then what would they be? How would you go about attaining or achieving them? These are not simply hashtag goals. These are deep desires of the soul. And of that list of desires, which one is the most compelling or significant for you? Would that be the desire for love, fame, fortune, significance, relevance, passion, peace, joy, family, pets, connection, beauty, wealth, legacy? And what happens if you don't accomplish your goal and fulfill your deepest desires? Are we to accept that this is life and just move on? Or are we to persist in the chase of acquiring that which may never be or was not meant for us in this lifetime? That is sehnsucht. Are these longings a core aspect of our personality, or do they represent something outside of us that we are reaching for? Mary Ann Evans' pen name was George Eliot. She was an English novelist, poet, journalist, translator, and a Google search about identifies her as one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. She said, and I quote George Eliot, "It seems to me we can never give up longing and wishing while we are thoroughly alive. There are certain things we feel to be beautiful and good, and we must hunger after them." End quote. Yes, we must hunger after them, but we're going to stay hungry sometimes, maybe even starving. That appetite may never be fulfilled. Yet, Greta Garbo, the Swedish-American actress, who actually was known for sort of a melancholy persona, stated, quote, "Is there anything better than to be longing for something when you know it is within reach?" End quote. So that seems like two different sides of the coin. There's this longing, and on one side, yeah, keep longing for it because guess what? It's going to be even better when you actually get it and it's near. And then there's that other side of the coin where it's like, yeah, you can long for it and keep longing in perpetuity, but you ain't going to get it, sis. Where do you stand? What do you long for? What are you willing to do for your longings? What do you truly want from life? What do you think is worth pursuing in perpetuity no matter what? Psychology Today suggests, quote, what can you learn from your experiences of sehnsucht include, number one, follow your longing. It's helpful to realize that sehnsucht may lead you in the direction of what you most deeply desire in life, even if you don't achieve it. Number two, accept some dissatisfaction and do not be led astray by it. At the same time, an understanding of sehnsucht can help you understand that you may have some desires that can't always be realized. And maybe that's the reality. Number three, look beyond. Consider what sehnsucht may be ultimately pointing you toward. What is it that these experiences teach you about what you most ache for at the deepest level? End quote. So what Psychology Today is saying is that, you know what? It's really about the journey, not the destination. Where are you going? And what are you longing for on your deepest soul level? Send me a line and let me know. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast. As always, stay beautiful and forever fabulous, inside and out. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab podcast episode of 15 Minutes of Fab. Until next time, live well, prosper, and stay beautiful, inside and out, and stay forever fab. If you like this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Did you learn anything new? Review this episode by writing just one word to describe the value you got from listening today, and give this episode a 5-star rating. In case you missed it, listen to this episode, past episodes, or check out who's coming up next on foreverfabpodcast.com. If you enjoy listening to the Forever Fab podcast, get more audio and more visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and more by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. And if you are a founder of or represent a beauty or wellness brand and you want to be featured on an episode of Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit foreverfabpodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to get set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, go to elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter. And for an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, and beauty questions on the go. And it's time for the elevated house call, wouldn't you say? Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped, state-of-the-art mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve at jetsetbeautyrx.com. That's all for now. Thank you for sharing the love. Goodbye, gorgeous.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.